Virginia.
Right. Pikeville, the McCoys were from Pikeville, weren't they?
Hatfields and McCoys. Yeah, my family. My grandmother is in direct relation to the McCoys, for sure.
All right. And also, there's another country music artist, I think, that's from that area, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, there are plenty, sir.
Yeah.
Gary Stewart was from down the street. Dwight Yoakam was right outside of city limits, and
Right.
man, Keith Whitley was from the area.
Must be something in the water down there.
Oh yeah.
So, how'd you get started in music?
Man, my father, he grew up playing music his whole life. When he was younger, he fell into the bluegrass scene pretty hard. He also was a big rocker in the 60s and the 70s, and played drums in a band called Magic.
Okay.
Around eastern Kentucky. Opened some real big shows with that band, actually. He opened for Skinnerd, and Journey went on tour with Cinderella back then.
Wow.
Back in the late 70s, early 80s. Had some real big shows. He's still a phenomenal musician. He's always been one of those guys that can play 6 or 7 instruments pretty proficiently, and I've always tried to match him. I can outplay him on a drum set. I can outplay him on a guitar, but that's about all I got on him.
Right. So, I was following your social media, and you recently went back home and visited your father, correct?
I did.
Now, he's got a banjo that has an autograph on it. Tell us about that.
It is a signature by Mr. J.D. Crow that he got the year I was born, 1981, and it's been there ever since. I've seen that signature my entire life, and he's had that banjo for long time.
Very cool.
30, 40 years almost, I'd say.
Well, as I said, I've been itching to get you back on the show, so let's not waste any more time. Why don't you go ahead and play a live song for us?
You got it. This is the first song on the record. This rendition I'm going to play you is not it does not sound like the record. I kind of souped it up to be a little more fun while I'm playing by myself. It's called I Made Myself a Bed Today. It's written by a kid named Ian No out of Beattyville, Kentucky, one of my favorite songwriters on the planet. So when the angels show, I'll be good to go. When they come to lay me down, when they come to lay me down. Well, I pulled out of the lane in the fog been rain, and I stumbled on through the door. As I watched you disappear, I knew then it was clear you wasn't coming back anymore. And I made myself a bed today, a blanket upon the ground. When the angels show, I'll be good to go. When they come to lay me down, they come to lay me down. I recall where we laid and where I held you and prayed, oh Lord, help me do what I should. But with each drunken day I just drove you away. Can't blame you, I was no damn good. And I made myself a bed today, a blanket upon the ground. So when the angels show, I'll be good to go. When they come to lay me down, they come to lay me down. Well, the doors, they're all locked, and these tears I can't stop. I don't guess I was ever that tough. I'm gonna fade out tonight, and I've shut out the lights, but it still ain't dark enough. It still ain't dark enough.
All right, John Clay live on Cumberland Country, WCHQ 100.9 FM. I like that one, man. I like that a lot. Another question, follow-up question to my first line of questioning. What brought you to Louisville, Kentucky from Pikeville?
Music, man. It was just life is a collection of random events at all times. There is no control. There is no path that we're set on. This is me and my own personal belief. I believe it's just a giant collection of randomness, and we choose different paths at different times. Initially I moved to Lexington not only because of a girl, but also to start getting my education. Somewhere around 2005, 2006, I moved up there to start going to BCTC. And I was also competing in mixed martial arts at the time. There was a really good school in Lexington. So I was there as well. And somewhere a few years down the line, some buddies in Louisville needed a drummer. And it just seemed like the right time to jump back in. So I did. Cougar Express. Great band. Look it up.
There you go. So, you mentioned these roads that you take and the randomness. If you could go back, or there'd be a road you would take in a different direction?
Certainly. 100 different moments that I can recall. I mean, not that I'm not regretful per se, but in looking back, there were moments that I could have made better decisions that would have led me down paths with better opportunities and such. But at the same time, had I not chosen the paths with heartbreak and hardships and a broke wallet, I don't know that I would have ever picked up a guitar and wrote a song about it.
Absolutely.
And I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing.
Right. And I think, you know what, to me, you just contradicted yourself about it being random. But that's a philosophical discussion.
Totally.
We're here to talk about music. I want to talk about your influences, but before I do, I like to ask this question of the songwriters I have on the show. What do you listen to when John Clay just wants to kick back and enjoy music?
I am a person who takes in music in a specific way. I fixate on artists when I'm studying them. For instance, Townes Van Zandt, there was a moment where I lived inside his catalog pretty indefinitely. That was 90% of most things that I listened to for a while, just deciphering chord patterns and poetry, Guy Clark recently. Steve Earle was another guy that I spent a long time in, Merle Haggard. But these days, Aaron Lee Tasjan from out of East Nashville, I think he is one of the biggest talents in the world, honestly, man. And that's a huge statement, but the guy is he's something really special. Right. And watching him do his thing the way he does his thing. And I've spent some time with him, and knowing who he is, he's taught me quite a bit, just observing, just watching him. Fantastic guitar player, amazing songwriter. He's got a new record coming out.
Gotcha.
Coulter Wall, another guy that I've been living in for a while.
Right. So I'm assuming your influences as a writer would fall into what you listened to at the time.
For sure. I bounce around stylistically. I didn't want to trap myself. I consider myself a folk singer, but my record certainly sounds like a rock and roll record at times, much more leaning towards Truckers or Ryan Adams early stuff, I would say, or
Gotcha.
Isbell even. But I get that comparison so much that I don't want people to think I'm like a ripoff artist. I couldn't hold Jason Isbell's jockstrap on my best day.
I got you. Well, and the new record's going to be called Now It's Time, and we'll talk a little bit about that a little bit later. But let's go ahead and play another live tune if you don't mind.
I sure don't. We're going to go with that. My guitar's a little touchy. This one's called My Place.
All right.
It seems a little bitter. The lyrics seem a little bitter, but I was just challenging myself to write a song that was a little outside the box. It's about, because I came into the world, my dad playing musician as soon as I could hear anything.
Right.
And I stuck a mandolin in my hand when I was 5,
Wow.
6, 7. That's all I've ever known. I've had a love for music since I could have a rational thought.
Right.
And I always wondered what my life would have been like had I not been one of these people who can't live without it.
Right.
And I can't. I know that. Couldn't close my eyes last night, too much racing around. Was trying to find a way to stand up and pick myself up out of this hole in the ground. 34 years down here and I'm still just scraping by. This dead-end job, I feel like a slob. I think it's time to solidify my place in this place. My place in this place. My place in this place. 7 years old, I sat in with my daddy's band. I couldn't quite play those chords, kept chap time on the mandolin. If I'd have known it would have set me on this path, I'd have walked right up to my dad and said, "You can have this mandolin back." Need to find my place in this place. My place in this place. My place in this place. Don't hear me wrong, I just always wondered who I'd be without. Without my drums and without this guitar right here on my back. Could have worn nice business ties, jet around the world and back just to sell you people pretty lies. I could have ran a big machine that tore the mountains down, just looking for a strip of coal to light the lights of my little town. Well, I need to find my place in this place. Could have shacked up tight, could have spread my seed, God knows how far. But all I ever wanted to do was play my drums and my dad's old guitar.
That's a beautiful song, John. I'm not just saying that. I mean it.
I thank you much. I thank you much.
Has your father heard that song?
He has.
What does he think of it?
he thought he just heard the record over this past weekend. Actually, the final mixes and everything.
Right.
He seemed extra proud. He thought it was a real good song.
Right. Well, that's an intensely personal song, and I think some of the best songs do come from a place of truth. We're going to talk about your writing here. Do you have a writing process? Do you sit down and say, okay, I'm going to write a John Clay song?
It is pretty random. I came up in the straight edge hardcore scene. That's right when my original writing process started, and it was with power chords and stuff. I grew up constructing pieces of punk rock music and metal music and things like that.
Right.
But I never wrote lyrics back then. I was just a composer, and then I would take a piece and I would give it to the singer, and they would build off of it. I still do that sometimes. I'll construct a riff or a beautiful pattern that I like a lot, and then I'll start to write on top of it. Other times I'll sit down with a pen and a paper and not have any idea in mind and just start writing lyrics, try to put something together, and then later come back to it and find a way to build a cadence with the words.
Right.
It differs at all times.
Right.
Sometimes it'll happen at 3 o'clock in the day when all you can do is sing or talk into your voice memo, and other times it's 6 in the morning.
Right. Who are some of your favorite songwriters or that influence you or that you just admire?
Oh man, too many. My whole existence is music, the support of it, and listening and studying it. Townsend Guy, John Prine, those three guys are certainly, as far as penmanship, the guys that I look to try and open my mind up a little bit.
Right.
I read here and there. O'Keefe, a big fan.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Where do you draw the inspiration? I mean, not strictly from other songwriters. I mean, I can get inspiration from, something as dramatic as a sunset to, like an ad in the newspaper.
Totally. Yeah, it always just happens. It can happen in casual conversation. Somebody says something that I think is profound, and I lock it in my brain and then write it in my notes as quick as I can. Try to build off of it. I'm a huge television buff. I watch more television than one man should at my age, but it's just who I am. It's who I've always been.
Right.
I do sometimes draw a lot of inspiration from television, man. From movies like Tombstone or ads, and he was watching so many one-liners. Man, I need to start watching.
Can songwriting be taught?
Yes, but I believe when it is taught, it and not coming from a place of absolute, genuineness. I feel like it definitely loses its proper delivery.
Right. It's sterile and antiseptic. Right.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and play another tune, a live one, and then we're going to come back and talk, and we're going to play a cut from the new album.
Sounds great. This one's called Melwood Night. This was the second song that I ever wrote. It's my first love song.
Now, is this related to the Melwood Avenue in Louisville?
It is. I lived over there. It's about a girl over that way who's still my family, someone that I care very much about. But we had a relationship several years ago, and I packed up and had to move back to Pikeville. That's when I started writing. 2013, right at the beginning of 2013, I had to leave Louisville and go back to Pikeville and live for about a half a year. And in that moment is when my whole life kind of shifted into this new path. And so somewhere around May, I think I wrote this song in 2013. Capoed in the wrong spot, people. Sorry about that. Felt weird.
It happens.
I just bought one of these Shub tuners and Still learning how to
Right.
get it in just the right spot.
There we go. We do have a lot of musicians that listen, so they'll totally understand those.
That's not all the way in tune, but it's close enough for government work. Is that what they say?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Millwood Night. If I were awake in this world, I'd have known it was you. I know that you stood right in front of me with your eyes green and blue, but honey, I never knew. So what am I to do? If I could just pick up this sand and walk it backwards in time, and carry that weight on my back as I walked with you on my mind, and you were always on my mind. Every memory I could find. If I finally make my way back home, if I finally make my way back home, if I finally make my way back home, will you hear my word? Will you hear my song? I've lived in my head and I've danced with the dead of my past. I took one good left and I took one good right. Now I'm down on my ass, but I stood up fast, 'cause my jaw is iron cast. The day I decided to walk out our broken screen door, I thought of the days and the weeks and the years and the tears on our floor, and you're not there anymore. You're out filling up your junk drawer. If I finally make my way back home, if I finally make my way back home, well, I can see everything in color now. I can see every wrong turn I made. Well, I wish we could go back to black and white for one more day and a Millwood night. Will you hear my song? Will you hear my word? Will you hear my song? when I get back home.
John Clay, Cumberland Country, WCHQ 100.9 FM. You know, these songs just, you know, I'm feeling them, man. They got to be coming from a very emotional place for you. How would you feel if somebody came up and wanted to record that song, this intensely personal song, and wanted to take it and make it their own? How would you feel about something like that?
I guess, man, I no one's ever asked me that question, and I hadn't really thought about the answer to it much. I'd be flattered, I think, that anybody would want to cut it. I'd be fine with it. I would.
Gotcha.
You know, once the song is done, certainly when it's released, it belongs to everybody.
Right.
You know.
Right. Do you are you a perfectionist? Do you have a hard time letting go of a piece of your art?
I'm a perfectionist in creation. I wouldn't have a hard time letting go of it.
Right.
But yeah, man, I'm certainly a perfectionist to a fault sometimes, and I think, you know, it gets on some people's nerves. But in the end, it's it's not a matter of perfection. It's just a matter of doing what's called for. You know,
Right.
I try to trim as much fat as I can on anything I'm a part of.
Now, you know, I'm jumping ahead a little bit because I want to talk about, you know, your studio experience, but since we're there, do you have a hard time, not that you would have a hard time getting this across, but, you know, the engineer versus the artist, do you ever have a hard time explaining what you hear in your head to somebody, the technical, you know, person on this deal?
Well, I am lucky enough to be able to play a few instruments, so I can usually convey what it is I'm looking for, you know, on just about every layer.
Right.
You know, drums, bass, piano, and
Because that's an
guitar.
art in itself. The actual,
For sure,
you know,
the engineering of the
construction
engineering
of a
side,
song,
you
right.
know, I like to. I feel like I play the producer role in every band that I'm a part of, in every studio experience that I'm a part of. I am constantly, you know, pitching suggestions, trying new things,
Right.
ambitious things, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But I always make sure that the engineer that I'm working with is competent enough to be able to communicate. You know?
Right. Well, you know what? We're gonna play a cut off of Now It's Time. In fact, we're playing the title cut. Again, this album is yet to be released. We don't have a solid date, correct?
I don't have an actual date, but it will be September. It is coming out this month. If you just hop on Facebook and look up John Clay, find my artist page, give it a like, and I will keep everybody in the loop. It is happening.
All right. Anything you want to say about Now It's Time?
This is kind of another love song, the one that got away. You know, a girl that I spent a lot of time with years past, and it just wasn't the right time. And you know, she sent me a long message, kind of professing her love of 2014ish.
Right.
And on the heels of reading that message, I picked up a guitar and wrote this song.
Well, here it is then. John Clay, Now It's Time on Cumberland Country. Okay, let me see. Having issues here. John, while I'm trying to figure this issue out, let's see. Wait, I think I might have been trying to download the entire. Sorry, I apologize, folks. While this is, it looks like I might have downloaded again, but while it is downloading, what are your aspirations as an artist? Like, where do you want your music to take you?
Well, you know, the goal is to find a balance where I'm comfortable enough to pay my bills, you know, live my life without stress,
Right.
and be able to tour and play these songs. I'm certainly not looking to become uber famous or anything like that. I don't care for it. You know, I don't want to. I'm not looking to reach an audience who's gonna scream,
right?
Who's gonna hoop and holler while I'm trying to sing these songs. I'm looking for a listening audience. You know,
right.
I'm looking for the fans that appreciate songwriting. You know, and when I put a full band together, it will be half a rock show and half a more easy listening show, I think.
Gotcha. Well, let's give this one more try. John Clay, this is a title cut from his yet to be released album, Now It's Time, on Cumberland Country.
At least a few times in life you have to make a choice, break yourself a heart or two. You have to ramble for a while and try to find your voice, swim on the water blue, come back when you're dry. Tell me, mister, have you seen that little girl? Got some words that I wanna lend her. Not all that long ago we owned those mountain roads. Couldn't tear us from the bed. Couldn't hold on to it so many miles away. That's when she came to me and said, at least a few times in life you have to make a choice, break yourself a heart or two. I need to ramble for a while and try to find my voice. You can call me for a rendezvous. She walked away with a smile. She said, I'm too young this time. She said, I'll see you again on the other side. I gave you your time. I gave you your time. Now it's time. Now it's time. Well, I've been walking down this long road on my own. I've been looking for my friend. Tell me, mister, have you seen that little girl? I got some words that I wanna lend her.
John Clay. Now it's time on Cumberland Country, WCHQ 100.9 FM, and it's a brand new cut from the soon to be released album. I won't say soon yet. I don't want to jump the gun, but John Clay is live in the studio. I like that, man. A very full sound, very it sounds like this album's gonna cover a lot of ground.
I hope so. It bounces around from a song like My Place, which is a lot more personal and a lot more somewhere in the ballpark of a guy sounding song, I guess.
Sure.
To a song that sounds like that's real, overdriven.
Gotcha.
I would say.
Gotcha. Well, we were talking about your aspirations. Do you have any, I call them bucket list gigs, like places that you would, love to play, and if you did, they'd be like, hey, I made it.
Well, the Ryman, obviously.
Sure.
I want to play there at some point. That's, that's a big time goal. But
right.
Anderson Fair out in Fort Worth. I just recently watched a documentary on Anderson Fair. I think if you're not familiar with the venue or the documentary, that's something that you should definitely look into, because it's all the greats. Nancy Griffith, Townes, Guy, Lyle, love it, and Dave Van Ronk moved there after the Greenwich Village scene fell apart. He moved out west and lived there, and that documentary is really good, man. I think it's called For the Sake of the Song, actually. You can find it on Amazon or I think forthesakeofthesong.com or something like that. If you just type in Anderson Fair documentary, it's worth a watch. If you're a songwriter, you're going to want to pick that up.
Gotcha. Well, we're just we're right up the road from a little town called Nashville, Tennessee. Is there a place for you and your music in that scene?
Definitely. I'm currently, I've built some friendships with guys like Aaron Lee Tasjan, John Latham, Darren Bradbury. All of these guys are phenomenal artists. And then other guys like Brian Wright, someone who I revere as one of the greatest present day songwriters. I think those guys would welcome me with open arms up there. At least that's how it always feels. I said up there, down there. Yeah. That's how it always feels. They're always really welcoming of me when I come around, and I'm looking to start playing down there anytime soon. I actually have a show there at a studio, Left Plus Right Studio, on the 17th, Saturday the 17th this month. I'll be in Nashville for the first time. Actually, I've never played there solo. I've played there on drums with 5 or 6 different acts, but I've never sang my songs there.
Gotcha. Well, let's go ahead and sing another one of those songs right now, if you don't mind.
I don't. A moment, folks, a moment.
Right. These wooden instruments are cranky.
Close enough. This one's called Running Away. The first song that I ever wrote, actually. This was right as soon as I got to Pikeville, and I wanted to get the flip out of there.
Right.
So it's called Running Away. Running away from this place that I call my home. From this place that I call my home. I'm sick and I'm tired of being alone. I'm running away from this place I call home. The mountains are tall and the people all walk close to God. Yeah, those mountains are tall and the people, they all walk close close to God. Well, Jesus don't love me this much, I know, and I'm running away from this place I call home. Well, Pike County has charm, but it's lost on a man like me. My flesh and my blood are all that it ties to me. These mountains have charm, but I've gotta be going my way. I can hear the Ohio calling to me every day. I just lay in my bed and I talk to the wall all night. When it starts talking back, well, I know that something ain't right. So I kick and I scratch and I piss and I moan. I'm running away from this place I call home. Pike County has charm, but it's lost on a man like me. My flesh and my blood are all that it ties to me. Have charm, and I've gotta be going my way. I can hear the Ohio calling to me. I can hear it calling to me. I can hear it calling to me. I can hear it calling to me. Oh, I can see it.
Lordy. John Clay live on Cumberland Country, WCHQ 100.9 FM. You seem to have a lot of power. Well, you do have a lot of power in your voice and control. Have you taken any voice lessons?
I have not. I actually just started just sitting in a room by myself a few years ago, about 2012. I started learning cover songs, town songs, Steve Earle songs,
right.
Merle Haggard songs.
Just been practicing.
Yeah, just spending a lot of time really singing 1,000 songs and working my own voice out. Right. trying to find what feels good and what feels natural. My voice now, it's comparable to the record, but it's a world of different. You know.
Gotcha.
And all of the new stuff, the next record will probably sound like a different person.
Fair enough. What's a live John Clay show like? What could people expect if they come out and check out your show?
Everything I have to give them. And that's the best answer I can give. That's all that I ever do while I'm up there. If it's such a cliche thing to say, but I do it often. If there are 4 people in the room, or if there are 500 people in the room, they get the same show.
Absolutely.
And lately, I've acquired a hollow body, and I've been playing through my Vox AC-15, kind of clean with a little bit of dirt on it, some tremolo. Given since I'm by myself, I love playing acoustic. I'm a finger picker, and I love to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like to have a little bit of body. So here lately, I've had a little bit more of an exciting guitar show, I would say.
Gotcha. Now, you host a music series on a monthly basis at the New Vintage Showcase.
I do. I'm glad you brought that up so I didn't forget to talk about
and
it.
we actually, you were on my afternoon drive show last week. We talked about it a little bit, but tell my listeners about the Sing Me Back Home series.
All right, listeners, listen up. This Thursday, not this Thursday. It is Thursday now. It is. It's next Thursday, isn't it? Yeah, it's this one coming next week. We have Mr. Ethan Crump from Hartwell, Georgia, coming in. 19-year-old folk phenom. Just unbelievable. Look the get up. It's ethancrump.com. Really easy. Debbie Klinkenbeard is coming all the way out from the Vegas, California desert area. I don't know. I still don't know where she's from. We've become good friends and we talk all the time, but I don't know where it is. She lives in like a shanty town in the middle of a desert,
right.
Like 2 hours one way, 2 hours the other
Gotcha.
way. And then we got Lee Highland coming down from northern Michigan, Ann Arbor. He apparently fronted this is a guy I'm not super familiar with. I've heard his record. It's good. But apparently he fronted a jam band called Social Bones for a long time that were pretty successful. The series is just a monthly thing I'm trying to do to build a listening room environment for songwriters here in Louisville, for traveling songwriters to come through Louisville and to